All right. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have us again on today's Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. So as our culture has been, we'll start with a brief presentation. And after that, we'll share our individual experience on the topic. So today's topic is display screen equipment, the impacts, the risk associated with use of display screen equipment. So we'll just refresh our knowledge on the common health issues associated with DSE. We'll look at the legal requirements. We'll look at setup of DSE to in line with ergonomic requirements. Then we'll also look at some of the control measures and how to the best practice on the use of DSE. So first, what is display screen equipment? This is any device or any electronic device that has visual display screens that is usually used in the workplace. For instance, your monitor at your workplace, your laptop screens, the desktop monitors, even your smartphones, because it's an electronic device and it has capability of displaying what you are presenting or what you are viewing. So we refer to them as display screen equipment. So what are the common issues that are associated with the display screen equipment? One of them is eye strain. When you are exposed to the screen or you're exposed to the reflection from the screen for a very long time, it can lead to eye discomfort. It can lead to dryness of the eye. It can also lead to fatigue, uh, weakness in the eye, sometimes irritations in the eye because of continuous exposure to the brightness or to the light reflections coming from the display screen equipment. Another health issue associated with use of DSE is the neck or the back or the shoulder pain. Because of the posture, because of sitting for a long time, trying to focus on the screen, you see that most times the worker or the person feels pain on the back or on the neck or on the shoulder because you have to position your neck to be able to see the screen. So on that position will affect the muscles, it will affect the neck bones and the shoulder bone, trying to cause pain on those joints. Another health issue associated with DS is repetitive strain injuries. Because of the repetitive use of this DSE, we can feel ill health like carpal tunnel syndromes. You can also feel tendonitis. You can also feel pains on your wrist because of the position of your hand on the mouse for a very long time. So these are some of the health issues that are associated with DSE and many more that we'll be talking about during the discussion. So how do we manage these problems that we've talked about, these health issues associated with use of DSE? How do we manage them and how do we ensure that they do not cause more injuries to individuals? So the first thing that we could do is regular breaks, ensuring that the worker or yourself or the person using DSE takes frequent and regular breaks. It can be, you can use the 20-20 rules, which means you work for 20 minutes, then you take 20 minutes rest before you come back to work for another 20 minutes. So this method will help you to ensure that you're able to stretch your stretch your legs, stretch your hands. You will be able to rest your eyes, take your eyes a bit away from the glares and the reflections coming from the screen. So taking a frequent regular breaks will help to ensure that this eye injury could be prevented as a result of use of DSE. Another thing that could be done is eye exercise. Performing eye exercise such as focusing on distant objects or blinking frequently can help to reduce eye strain and improve your eye health. So in such situation whereby you can decide to remove your eyes from the screen and look at an object that is positioned very far away, and in that instance, you are trying to build some muscles on the eye. You are trying to remove your eyes from the bright lights, and you are focusing it far away on far away objects, and your eyes will be feeling that freshness, refreshed, and away from those lights. So it will help to improve the health of your eye. Then the next thing that we could do is stretching routine, ensuring that you incorporate stretching routine into your neck. Like frequently, you can decide to stretch your neck, stretch your wrist, stretch your back. So this will help to ensure that you prevent some muscle imbalance and some tensions on your neck and on your shoulders. So not just positioning yourself for on a same position for a very long time, then incorporating stretching routine will help to ensure that you reduce tension on those muscles of the neck and on the shoulder. So the next thing that you can do is correct posture. Sitting upright, relaxing your shoulder, ensuring that your back is rested on the chair, sitting properly and keeping your eye at the level of the screen and positioning your screen to be at the level of your eye. So this will help you to ensure that you are not straining your eyes, you are not straining your shoulders, you are not straining any of your neck. So sitting at the correct posture will help to ensure that you maintain proper balance, and your bones and the ligament will not be strained. So correct posture will help to prevent all this ill health or all this risk associated with use of display screen equipment. Then the other thing that can be done is optimization of the workplace, ensuring that you arrange your workplace to minimize glare, positioning your screen or your chair away from the where the glaze can be coming in, or maybe away from the windows, away from where the lights could be coming in from the into the office. So trying to optimize your workplace, your office, to ensure that the light is sufficient, the light from the bulbs is sufficient so that you will not be straining your eyes to see the screen. So optimizing the workplace will help to ensure that you have a comfortable workplace and reduce some of these risks associated with this DSE, especially the eye damage and eye strain. So some of the regulations in line with the use of display screen equipment. So we have the Health and Safety Display Screen Equipment Regulation, which is referred to as DSE regulation. So this regulation is a set of guidelines and legal requirements that is aimed at ensuring that the health and the well-being of workers is ensured and is guaranteed by the employer. Okay, so this regulation helps to address potential risks that are associated with prolonged use of display screen equipment, especially office workers, secretariats, admin staffs, designers. So those people that their core job is on the screen, that they can't do any part of their job without focusing on the screen. There are certain types of people in the workplace that out of 8 hours duty that they have, that they spent that 8 hours on the screen. So this regulation DSE regulation is there to ensure that they are not exposed to this risk, and they are not their health and their well-being is not disregarded by the employers. So this regulation was amended in 2002, first enacted in 1992, amended in 2002. And there's also EU OSHA directive of display screen equipment. These are also some of the regulations that talks about display screen equipment, the risk associated with them, and adequate measures or adequate requirements that should be met to ensure that the workers are not exposed to DSE injuries. So who are these regulations applied to? The DSE regulation is applied to employers, applied to office workers, as well as the home workers. So those remote workers that work from home that use equipment, that use DSE equipment. So this DSE regulation is also applicable to home workers. Now, for the employers, it's the responsibility of the employers to ensure that the equipment provided for the employee is safe to use and is without risk to these employees. And it's also the responsibility of the employee to ensure that the worker is well trained and well informed about the risk associated with use of DSE and the adequate measures that the employer have already put in place. So it's the responsibility of the employer to communicate all this information to the employee. Then the responsibility of the worker on this DSE regulation is to ensure that it spends, is to ensure that the DSE equipment he uses, that he follows the information given to him by the employer, and he ensures that he do not add anything or remove anything from the safe equipment that has been provided by the employer. And he is also there to ensure that he reports any injury or any ill health resulting as that he feels as a result of use of display screen equipment. So this is what is expected of the office worker. Then for the home workers, that applies to them as well. It's their responsibility to ensure that they use appropriate equipment and they ensure that they follow the rules and the regulations, they follow the instructions given to them by the employer while using DSE. So the display screen equipment, some of the provisions or what is expected of the employer is one, risk assessment. The employer is expected to conduct risk assessment of the use of display screen equipment, and this risk assessment must be communicated to the workers or to those people using the DSE. Okay, then ergonomic workstation. The employer must ensure that the workstation is ergonomically designed to ensure that the workers are not exposed to musculoskeletal disorders while using the workstations. Now, it's the responsibility of the employer to also train and give information to the employees to ensure that they understand the risk associated with their job and the control measures and the correct use of DSE equipment. Now, regular breaks is also recommended in this regulation to ensure that the workers are encouraged to take regular and frequent breaks to reduce eye strain and to ensure that they prevent all the posture-related problems associated with use of workstations and DSE equipment. Now, eye tests, the employers are required to offer eye tests to the workers upon the request and to contribute to the cost correction of any eyewear that is required when using this DSE equipment. So the employer is supposed to provide any screen guard or any form of protection required by the employee to ensure that the equipment, that the eyes is not damaged while using this screen that is provided. So workstations and the assessment. So the employers is required to conduct workstations assessment. And the workstation assessment, they should include the entire workstation. That is the chair, the table, the computer sets, the furnitures. So it's supposed to conduct adequate assessment of the workstation. It should also conduct assessment while the job is being done to ascertain if the workers is following that required instruction or information given to them. And it should also to ensure that any special requirements of the staff is provided. For instance, those that have disabilities or those who require special assistance in the use of this workstation. So it's the responsibility of the employer to ensure that it conducts adequate workstation assessment to ensure that the need of each individual worker is met. Now, because the workstation cannot be general fit for all, so it's the responsibility of the employer to ensure that they provide adjustable workstations so that every worker can be able to adjust the workstation to their size and to their specification in order to prevent discomfort and pains associated with working with workstations. So some of the workstation checklists that we can do, the first one is on the display screen. We have to check if the display screen has glares or not. Glare simply means if there are some reflecting lights coming from different angles on the screen. Now, you also have to check if the screen is adequately tilted. If it's properly tilted, if your eye level is directly on the screen without your neck bending either forward or backwards. Now, on the keyboard, you have to check if there is adequate hand rest. While using the keyboard, you have sufficient space where your hand will be properly positioned on the desk and not suspended. Then for the use of the mouse, you have to also check on the position of the mouse. Is there sufficient space on the desk or on the workstation where your mouse will be adequately positioned very close to you without the need to stretch your hands? Then for the furnitures, we have to check if the seat is adjustable, if the seat has adequate back rest, and if your back can be adequately supported by that seat. Then for the chair, you have to ensure or check if the chair can be adjusted for any height, because some people are taller than others. So you need to ensure if the chair can be adjusted to fit individual heights. Then for software, you have to ensure that the software is up to date and the software is approved by the organization. So you don't use unauthorized or unapproved softwares in the workstation. So positioning your display screen equipment, so it should be the top of the monitor should be at the eye level, slightly low below your eye level when you sit erect. Then the back should be, the shoulder should be relaxed on the side of the adjustable seat. Then the backrest should be able to support the curve on the lower back. So some seats that are still in use in workplaces are just straight without properly supporting the curve on the lower back. So ergonomically designed seats are actually not so straight. so it's a bit curved to be able to support the lower back, the curve at the lower back. And the seat itself has to be adjustable so that you'll be able to match, your leg could be properly rested on the floor. And when that position is not sufficient for you, you can adjust the seat to get adequate height. So the arms should be well supported on the seat arm. And while using the keyboard, there should be enough space on the table to be able to support your arms or your wrist. Then your leg should have a leg support that will be able to lift your feet a bit above the ground level. So this is how a properly designed, economically structured workstation should look like. So in conclusion, following the DSE's regulations and the guideline, and including sufficient and safe ergonomical setup of the workstation, including frequent rests and frequent breaks in the work timing, ensuring adequate management of health issues that arise with use of display screen equipment. All this will help us to promote healthier and more productive work environment. So this is my concluding lines for this presentation. And I will now open the floor for others to share their contribution. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really a good one. Thank you. Good evening, all.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, my name is David Austin. It's a good one. Mostly this aspect of safety is being neglected. I don't know if it is this part of the war, but it's, as you are saying, I discovered that, I think that was last month or so, I did a training and I sat for about 5 hours straight, only for me to discover that I was having a back pain. At the same time, my eyes were inching. So immediately, as we are saying, I just recall immediately. I say, okay, it was because of that. So first, it's in some form of a question and contribution. You know that this ergonomics or part of safety or monitoring, how can it be effective since the management don't consider it that much? The management is concerned about production in the field, go to the field. There is no safety or safety personnel that check all this, come to the office to check if people are sitting properly, if all these measures are being put, the screen that we talked about. So how can this be effective? Looking at from the management angle, they are not really considering this. They are looking at field, go to the field, personnel. Office people are not really considered. So how do you tackle this? How do you make it effective? How do you create the awareness? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stephen, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I will just say one or two things, and maybe along the line I might be able to answer one or two, give an answer to exactly what he's asking about. You see, it's unfortunate that in most parts of part of the world, most of the regulations are not really effective. Okay. But I will tell you, if you go to the US, you go to the UK, I don't know much of Canada, you see that these things are well implemented. Okay, in fact, I will give you a first-hand information, like even in Nebosh, when you write Nebosh, you know, the question for the international and that of the national is different. So in the national, which is within the UK, you see the issue of display screen always come out more often. Okay, So even if somebody who want to become a chartered member of IOSH, there are some questions they ask during the interview. You will not even escape, display screen assessment, because it's an issue that they hold to an high esteem, in most of the developed countries. The only challenge we have is that in the developing country and underdeveloped countries, we take things for granted. That is why it's really a big issue. Okay, I have a friend who is in the UK presently. He's a specialist. That's where he specializes on display screen assessment. He's working like a consultant, so he goes around to different companies and do their display screen assessment for them. It's a huge market, So, like I said, depend on your jurisdiction where you are. If I'm making use of, sometimes when I want to say Africa, I don't just specify Africa. I use Middle East, Africa, Middle East, African, Asia. These particular regions, they are still backward, in terms of implementation. So most of them are just hiding under the cover of, oh, maybe we are having rapid development. People are looking at us, so they try to implement some little things. But the issue of display screen is what they don't take as priority. But as a professional, what I would advise is that within your organization, you can only try and because in safety, there's what we call best practices, irrespective of if it is written in if that's what you're implementing in your site, or even if it's part of regulations, you can bring that as a best practice to your organization. So the only challenge is that will they buy it? Will they buy that idea? If they buy that idea, fine for you. You are going to achieve distributing or channeling out this awareness to the workers in your site or in your respective project. Because at this point, that's the only thing you can do as a professional. If the management buy the ideas, if they will listen, So for us, we can only advise, but we cannot force. Okay, so then on the other hand, it's when you look at the UK, like I've said earlier, they don't joke with the law. In as much as a lot of people break the law, they don't joke with it. So it's very important. Like you said, you had a training, you sat for 5 hours. It's not supposed to be allowed. You understand? At least even if you want to have a long hour training, you should have frequent breaks in between. Because that is why for us, who's
Can't hear you again.
His network is hanging. Let's see if
Okay,
it
I think
comes
his
back.
network. Yeah,
then
the network is hanging.
we can appreciate this topic, but if we eventually will find a place where it doesn't work, then we have to try. We try to see and create an awareness.
Ah, oh, the network is damn bad, man. Okay.
So I'm done with my contribution. So
Okay. Okay. Just pray another person also contribute, because this is a major issue.
Okay.
At least
Mr. David, what I want
sir.
to add there is, it's all about the willpower. It's all about the willpower. And what happens to, it's not just the management that is skeptical about these implementations, it's also health and safety professionals. Because most times we are not seeing this as high risk, right? If
Yes.
we do the risk assessment now, we are not going to put it as a very high risk. So we tend to ignore it, go to the site where the activities are where there are high risk activities, where somebody can fall. There's a lot of things that can cause instant injury. Okay, so it's also partly on us because we do not consider it as a very high risk activity. So that is why we are not giving it a lot of push. Because, and this also affects mostly office staffs. And you see that most of the office staffs are the people that we can categorize as the intellectuals in the workplace. And those intellectuals are always the ones that can always argue with us. So when we bring up ideas or bring up trainings that will affect them, because they feel they know like we know, they can read like us, they can interpret the law like us. So those are the ones that are always at loggerheads and always disputing our effort. So you see that the display screen equipment risk is mostly uh, affecting those office staffs or those ones I call the intellectuals in the organization. So it now looks like we are now, we feel reluctant to push for the risk to be controlled, especially because it's affecting these ones that are always challenging us. Now we are focusing more on the high risk activities in the site, where we think at least the workers, they will take our advice. If we ask them to come down, they will follow. So that is also partly what I think that is driving the low enforcement in this type of risk. So in order to make it effective, I think it should start from us, from health and safety professionals, the passion and the urge to make an impact in this type of risk should start from us. Because for me, I can barely remember when I put up a training about display screen equipment for the office staff, because this training cannot go to the workers in the field. Okay, so I think first it should start from us. When we develop that motivation to push for it, then the management could also support us. But when we have not started, then the management themselves will not will pretend like they don't know what should be done. That is my own response to that.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been appreciated, and you know that it is easier for a water to flow from up to down than flowing from down to up. That is the first factor first. And what I'm saying, because currently I was making a research and I discovered that the other jobs, they will prepare MS, that is method statement, you see JHA, everything, the sequence of the job, everything is well stated. But you see this aspect of it, in terms of office safety, ergonomics, is not being considered. And as though I'm not in the management cadre yet, on this our level now, how can you allow the water to flow from down to up? Do you just go and pour the water from the head and it will flow down, or you just try to push the water, or do you swim against the water? I hope you understand what I'm talking about. So based on of course, that is not even is not being considered. Could have said, okay, from the client, at least client should push it, of course, it will go around. And however, before you also get used to it, it's another issue, because it's not really considered. I don't see it as they see it as it's not important. So though I believe we are here to learn and share knowledge how to go about it, considering this part of the region that health and safety is not really considered as not that it's not considered, but this aspect is not really is not considered. Not to talk of this
Yeah, I think
safety.
another thing we can do in that aspect, especially those who are not in the managerial level yet, the thing they can do is to push it from the manager, especially the safety manager. If the safety manager buys the idea, then the problem is half solved. So he can be able to go to the leaders management meeting and present this, that we want to put up a display screen equipment or DSE regulation. We want to put up a DSE guideline. So in that guideline, we'll now state what should be done, when inspection will be done. And so from there, then the implementation will come down to us or to the lower people. So I think first approach is to push it to the safety manager. If he buys the idea, then he can be able to sell it to the management. And if the management buys it, then the implementation will be very easy.
Okay, thank you very much. And in the situation, there is a slogan that says, "We deliver this project with no harms and no leaks." And you are in an inspection due to some personal development or training that you have gone. You find out that there are some things that are actually going wrong. For example, in terms of PPE, recently I was on inspection and I discovered that somebody was carrying out an activity, this cutting a wall. Of course, you know that generates a lot of noise, a lot of dust. And he is using his cloth, all this hanky, to tie his. Looking at it, say, no, 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 this is not acceptable because it's not 3M, it's not respirator. Try to bring it up, meet the management, and they are telling you, no, leave him as long as he covers something. In such situation, how can he implement it, enforce it? Seeing that where you are trying to enforce or to implement it to be proper, it's a kind of ruling against you. Your work as a safety, since you have been in the profession for a long time, we are still coming up. I want to know how you really overcome this kind of situation. Since you have met different personalities, considering from the region we are coming from, how do you tackle such things, sir? Can't hear you.
Okay, thank you. I would like others to add something.
Okay, David Austin, I will
Sir.
respond. I will respond to this your question because you know, just like what you are saying now. Honestly, you agree with me that the safety job we are doing is a professional job that has its own risk as per how we manage issues, like what you are just saying now. You agree with me that technically and simple approach with some political ways to avoid you having some fractions, or how am I going to put it, with management. In most cases, most of these issues, it will boil down, just like what Johnson said, to the managers who you relate, your top department heads, who we relate some of these kind of issues, challenge with, then they take it to the project management or the senior management so that it can be solved in a very simple way. Because at a time, if most of us are trying to handle some sensitive issues, when the problem come, your manager itself might even say, why you did not tell me? You could have told
Yes.
me. You thank God you work with me, and the reason why I was lynched out of Saipem, Nigeria, were some of issues that have no meaning, which
Yes.
nobody was there to speak for me. You understand? Nobody was there to speak for me. So I know that these issues were a violation of my duty, or rather, but that is the right procedure of what I was trying to say. This is how we should do the job. Yes, at a time I become a voice. Even the management has liked the way I was handling some certain issues, but it was not comfortable to them because for them I'm delaying their job.
Yes, of course. That is the language.
For
That is
them,
it has always been the language.
I'm delaying their production, and my manager himself does not want to go into the kind of action I was taking to carry out those steps. So it is only when you have a manager who can speak, who can stand to say this procedure, this standard is what we must follow. That is only when you in the field can also raise a voice. If not, if you raise your voice to some certain system, you go home, your manager will also not be able to speak for you.
Yes, yes.
I remember when we were demobilizing from SSCGS, when we demobilized the logistic camp, the logistic base in FLB in Warrior MPA. They said they don't need the safety because we're moving to beggar yard. Okay, because we have a corporate manager who understands the safety system, he asks them, are you keeping the nurse? They say yes. If you are keeping the nurse, why are you keeping the nurse? They said for emergency reasons, for maybe emergency or somebody is coming from the project site. He said, then I also need the safety man to be there. They were already preparing to demob David Egbe.
Seriously.
But because he knows his own news, he sent a mail straight to the MD, SAPEM MD, and the man said, whatever advice the country chassis manager give, that is where he stands. Those who gave the instruction that they don't need a safety, what was their response? We have no mercy. But the project HSC manager could not defend that they must keep a safety man there because you are going to Julius Berger yard. That is, Julius Berger is not our safety. We must have a eye who will also oversee the arrival of the personnel from project site. Not only the logistic, not only the medical department. The safety man also must enforce how people must disembark by following the right procedure. So these are the things. But because he understands that this is a process that must be implemented, that was why David Egbe was still there. So, but these days, so many managers cannot speak. And that is why
I think that's one of the major challenge.
So that is why you see there's a weakness in the link. So safety officers are afraid to stop an unsafe perform task in the field.
Yes.
Safety officers are afraid because of if they sack me, how will I feed my family? So this is the issue. So once we learn some certain things, we use it as our own backup when we are proving point to some management that this is the effect of the decision you are taking, and this is the right thing that I believe we should do. Some managers, some construction managers, when you give them points, they will say, really, what you are saying is right. Even if they want to do what they still intend to doing, but because you have come up with some reasonable analogy, they will say, okay, they will tend to change their initial decision. So
Yes.
that is just the issue.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Francis. You have extensively answered him, so there's no need repeating that again.
Yeah.
Do we have any other further contribution before we call it a day? Mr. Amara, and who is Andy?
That's a new guy, Abi. That name, man. It's okay.
Okay. If there's no further contribution, we'll call it a day. So
Thank
I
you,
want
sir.
to appreciate us for coming. It's
Yeah.
not easy to join every
Nice
week. It's not easy. I know what it takes. Even those in Nigeria, the way MTN sucks the data, it's not it's not easy. Yeah.
Like seriously.
So thank you guys for joining today. It's a pleasure.
Okay.
I
No
hope to
problem.
see
Thank you,
us
sir.
again next week. So
Yeah.
do have a nice day.
Yeah, Swangba tried joining, but I
Yeah,
think he was
I saw
having
him. He has a network challenge.
Yeah,
having a
yeah.
talk challenge.
I thought as much. No problem.
No
See you
problem.
guys
Thank
next
you.
week. Yeah.
Okay,
No
next
problem.
week.
Thank you.
Happy weekend.
Happy
Thank
weekend.
you.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah.
Individual is joining when we are closing.